Hey friends, I'm thrilled to resume my Zoom chat series with someone I've admired for many, many years. I know that I say that about a lot of people, but this one, I really mean it. A former professional goalie, former Olympian, now an advocate for mental health, and of course, our wonderful Canucks analyst and color commentator on Sportsnet 650. Please welcome Corey Hirsch. Hi, Corey. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm
beautiful
great. How
day
are you?
out. I'm good. It's a beautiful day. I'm outside, so if you hear a car honk or whatever, we'll just let it roll by. It's gorgeous out here in Vancouver, isn't it? We're so blessed to live in a city that we do.
We are indeed. And in fact, speaking of good weather, I'll be taking my wife and my kids out. We're going to go boating on up at Howe Sound today. Just rent a boat for a couple hours. Yeah. So hopefully I'm still around when to post this a little later. So we'll see what happens.
No, all good.
Tell me about last night's game. It's an exhibition game. We're excited. 4.5 months of hockey, waiting for hockey. And what were your initial impressions on the Canucks' initial foray into hockey?
Yeah, I thought the first two periods were good for both teams. I thought both teams were just trying to kind of feel each other out and feel their way. And then by the time the third period rolled around, like any exhibition game, both teams weren't interested. Really, They just wanted the clock to run down and let's get Sunday started. But I saw some good things, but I also saw some rust too on some guys, and it's to be expected. But the Canucks they've got a good team. They've got this year is going to be tough. There's a lot of good teams involved, but the experience that they're going to gain from this is what's important. They're going to get some playoff hockey in, and that's going to be incredible moving forward.
Great point. Just as we are excited that they're one of 24 teams that's healthy and have a chance to win, there's also 23 other teams that are healthy and have a chance to win. So I think that's what you're talking about. It's going to be tough this year.
Absolutely, yeah, and they're young, right? I mean, this for me. When we talked last summer, all of us media guys, when we talked last summer, we said, okay, well, this team is going to be it'll be close as to whether or not they make the playoffs. And at the end of the year, that's exactly what it was. It was close to, they exceeded expectations at times, but they were right where we thought they would be. It was close. We didn't know if they were going to make it or not. So this is kind of a bonus. Like they're getting a playoff series, whether it's 5 games, 7 games, the first round. Like this is great for their players and their guys. And we all want to see them win. But just this year is like a year where I think the expectation should be for them to just get experience, and everything else is a bonus. Their time is coming probably a year or two from now.
Corey, as optimistic and as positive as I am, as you are, I think that's a good, realistic way of looking at it. I've been talking about how we know Markstrom, Miller, Pettersson, Hughes. There's going to be a lot of attention on them. I've been talking a lot about how Brock Besser's almost become the forgotten man, and how it's funny to say he could be an X factor, considering he was a Calder Trophy finalist a couple of years ago. Who else do you think, whether it's Besser, who else do you think of the non-mega stars do you think can have a huge impact against the Wild?
Yeah, well, you need that kind of that unsung hero guy, the guy you don't expect. And I think, Ferland gets in the lineup. He's a guy that could be Roussel or Gaudette. Usually it comes from unexpected places, and it usually comes from your third line. Every team has 2 lines that can score of star players, right? So what does your third line do for you? That's kind of, a lot of in championship teams, and that what are your third line players doing? Are they good enough? Your stars have to be good, and they have to be their stars. But every team has those guys. They kind of cancel each other out. It's where your depth comes in, your third line. And if those guys are the guys that can carry you through, they chip in a goal when you need one, when you don't expect it. That's what you need.
Mm-hmm. Do you worry about Minnesota's third line compared to, say, Vancouver's third line?
Not really. I think Vancouver outmatches them in terms of forwards. I really do. I think they're Jason Zucker got traded at the deadline to Pittsburgh, so they lost scoring in that there. Where I see Minnesota being better than Vancouver is on defense. They've got a really high skilled, good defense core there. Spurgeon, Dumba, Suter. So that's where Minnesota is a bit better. But I think, so the Canucks, I think on forward and goaltending, I think that's where they have them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about the goaltending in a second. I want to talk a bit more about last night as well. Do you, the lineup that we saw, of course, they got to dress an extra forward and extra defenseman, McEwen and Ulevi respectively. Is that basically the lineup that you, Corey, anticipate we see Sunday nights?
I would think so. I mean, why would you not put in the guys that are, you got one exhibition game for guys to be ready for Sunday. So that's the lineup you're going to go with, right? That's if it was 2 or 3, I mean, we'd probably be talking a different story, but they only had one game. So you got to give the guys that are going to play that one game to get them going and back into it. So I expect McEwen will be out. I expect Juolevi to be out. But as far as, everybody else, I would think that the lineup's going to be what it was. And if somebody gets hurt or, it was good to see Juolevi play some minutes yesterday.
Yeah, he played solid in his 6.5 for sure. And I know you know this from being on the air and being engaged in social media. A lot of people want to see Jake in for Brandon Sutter. But my guess is, given experience and roles, that might not happen, at least not off the bat. Yeah,
well, I mean, Jake is, has been kind of put himself in a bad spot. He got outplayed by some guys at this camp. And, there's been some other stuff that haven't really impressed, Vancouver coaches and that. You know what you want to know that everybody's committed and everybody's in. Like, coaches' jobs are on the line. Like, Travis Green's job is on the line all the time, right? And whether we think it's today or 2 years from now, a coach his job is always on the line. And as a player, when you don't show that same respect to the coach that that you're ready to go, well, they're going to put guys in that are. That's just the way it is. So hopefully Jake figures that out, because I think he's a dynamite player. And hopefully he figures that out and that he gets in some games in this series.
Yeah, no, well said, Corey. I wanted to ask you a couple questions about what it was like to call last night's game. Obviously, you're not in Edmonton, in the hub city. I saw the picture that you guys tweeted out, and I was joking around. It looked like you guys were in a storage locker or gym, but I was told that was the TV studios for Rogers. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're out in the TV studios for Rogers, so we've got a pretty good setup. It's a nice big room. We've got big screen TVs everywhere. Yeah, and it actually wasn't that bad. I didn't mind it at all. It was very comfortable, and it was a lot better experience than I thought it would be. And I give a lot of credit to Sportsnet and the work that they did and the people and getting that together. I didn't, and the feedback I got was that it didn't sound any different than any other game. So that's kind of the goal we're going for.
Yeah, that's really good. And did you find it at all difficult, the fact that you weren't in the arena? What sort of nuances were there for you, if any?
What you don't get, though, is you don't see the little fights behind the play that if you're at the arena, right? So, guys go off when the camera goes into, say, Winnipeg's end and 2 players go off and they go to the bench and one punches one in the head before, that's the stuff you don't see. Or when there's a penalty behind the play, those are the little things you don't see, right? Or in an arena setting, you can predict where the play is going to go because we can see the whole ice. So I can see who's open, I can see who's going to get the pass, I can see. Whereas on the TV monitor, like a stretch pass from the goal line to the far red line, I don't know who's out there. I don't know who he's passing to, and I don't know if he's available, right? So that's really the only difference. But like I said, the goal is to make it sound as close for the fans as possible, like we are at the actual game. And I thought it wasn't that bad.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, as you know, Corey, I listen to you guys a lot, especially when I'm on the road between things. And I think you can do a fabulous job. Your chemistry with Brendan Batchelor is quite good. I love it. Everything from arguing over what the definition of a word is to obviously hockey stuff. Was that chemistry hard to find, or was it pretty instant?
It takes a while, because Brendan and I didn't know each other at all. So it's throw 2 guys in a room and say, get to know each other. Right. And it's not, it's sometimes you hit it off immediately. Brendan's a lot younger than I am too. Right. And so it was, first year was, we get along really well. I really enjoy working with Brendan. It's just, it takes a while to develop an on-air chemistry. Yeah. So that I know what he's thinking when he alludes to something and I can help him, or or the other way around, or when he needs help. So that takes time. And I think that's like anything, that's usually right around the 3rd season. Mm-hmm. That's when things started to click. And I think we had a really good year this year. So I enjoy working with him. He does an excellent job. Yeah.
It's funny how you said that Brendan's a lot younger than you, and because you and I are close with my cousin Dusty, we're all about the same age. So yes, he's a lot younger than me as well. So speaking of Dusty, he said that he's teaching you some guitar. How's that going?
That's fun. I enjoy it. The guitar is great for my mental health. It's a lot of people get frustrated with it, but I take it for what it is. Like, I'm never going to be in a rock band. I am never going to stand in front of 20,000 people, So if I can play something that sounds like a song,
Yeah.
and you're like, that actually sounds like a song, then I'm fired up. And it's not as hard as people think once you get going. I mean,
Right.
to get really good, yeah, that's hard. I mean, those guys, but to play simple chords and songs, it's not as hard as people think to get going. And it's once you do, it's pretty cool when it clicks. And Dusty's really good.
No, for sure.
Yeah, he's he's above he could be in a rock band.
And Corey, as you know, I'm a pianist, so I was telling Dusty that, me, him, we can make it a family affair and bring you in as our ringer for the next Canucks parody song I do. But we'll talk about that off the air. That's fine.
We'd be the all racial diversity group. Me, you, and Dusty. We'd be great. We got the white redhead. We've got you guys. Yeah, it'd be awesome. We'd have an awesome rock band. I love it.
We'd be diverse. We'd be talented, and we'd be really good looking.
Drummer, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Good looking.
Yeah. Okay. If there's a good looking drummer out there, let us know. Hit us up. Speaking of Dusty, Corey, actually, I actually asked him, and I want to ask you, and this is how we started talking about you in my last one, is why do you think truly goalies make such good color commentators and analysts? Is it just the way you see the game? Is it the way you've played the game you think? I would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, there's two reasons. One is that, so when I'm standing in net, right, I can see the whole ice out in front of me. When you're a forward and you're going into the corner, you can't see anything behind you. You've got a guy draped all over you. You're getting hit. But as a goalie, like, the whole rink is laid out in front of me. So what makes a good goalie is you need to be able to read the play. You need to be able to know what's going to happen before it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's the portion where you're in the net. Then when you're not playing, I'm sitting on the bench. I got the best seat in the house, right? So if you think about it, I've watched and played in almost 3,000 hockey games from the best view on the ice, and I think it's the same as a catcher, right? In baseball, the pitcher can't see what's going on behind him, but the catcher can see the whole field, and I think that develops into why we end up being analysts, because we typically have the best seat in the house for when we are playing and when we're not playing.
Well said. That's a really good answer. That's a lot better answer than the one that Dusty gave me, but that's okay. that was good. Corey, who was your favorite goalie in the past of all time?
Oh, I mean, I grew up idolizing Mike Palmateer, Toronto, because when I was in Calgary, those are the games we got. We got Toronto games. Yeah, that was right when, and it's really cool because I get to golf with them sometimes now. So it's weird to get to know your idols. And then they actually realize they're real people with real problems.
Awesome. And exactly. And whose game do you like?
I love them.
Whose game do you like today? Like which goalies do you think are standouts today?
Which goalies do I like today? You know what? That's a really good question. Yeah. There's a lot of good ones out there. I like a guy that can be athletic, that can play the puck.
Yeah.
And that doesn't fall into that square box of a goalie that just drops and it's technically perfect. I like a guy that can stretch out, make a save. Yeah. So there's so many. To name one in particular, yeah. I like Vasilevsky. I think he's a really talented guy. I like watching him in Tampa. We don't get to see him that much. And then who else? I'm just trying to think of anybody else that's around the league that I might really enjoy watching. Jonathan Quick's always a pleasure to watch. That guy can turn himself into a pretzel.
Yeah, Corey, I was just going to say that's the guy who does.
Older. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's the guy who Dusty picked as well.
Yeah. And he's faded, of course, in the past few years. But the guy won 2 Stanley Cups, right? Yeah. In his prime, and was fantastic. And we'd all love to play forever, but we can't.
And one more hockey question before I get into your work with mental health. Who's the one goalie, Corey, who you look at and say, man, that's kind of like how I played when I played, a little while ago? And whose style most emulates yours, if anyone?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a little bit, I'm obviously, I played as more of a stand-up style, but as far as like, a guy that plays with a lot of patience, and a guy like Jordan Binnington plays with a lot of patience. Yeah. And that's how I played, and he obviously, with the system and way he plays, I don't want to say that the kid he's dynamite. He's won a Stanley Cup, but just when you watch the patience and his skating ability and, but different styles. It's hard to compare today to who you would be most like, but how you think the game and how you read the game is probably pretty similar to that.
Well said. Okay, I lied. I got one last hockey question.
Yeah.
Was it weird for you to win the Stanley Cup with the Rangers in '94 and then get traded to the Canucks right after that?
It was, and I'll have to correct you. I didn't win the Stanley Cup because I was a roster member, but I don't get a ring or my name on the cup. I mean, that would be I was a black ace, and that would be disrespectful to the guys that actually got on the ice and played. And it would have been nice, but I mean, I was on the roster. I saw how they did it. It's just pretty cool. I got to drink out of the Stanley Cup. I was there. I practiced every damn day, for 2 months. So maybe I did earn it.
No, that's awesome.
But yeah, no, it was exciting because it was, I'd never really spent much time in Vancouver before. And then when I got here, I just fell in love with the city. And the Rangers were big money corporation type organization, and when I got to Vancouver, it was owned by Arthur Griffiths, and it was more family. And it was a nice change. It was really cool. But as we know, the game became a billionaire's game. And it's tough. It's a big money game for everybody now.
No, absolutely. And Corey, myself, and I know thousands, if not millions of people are aware of your outstanding work with mental health and mental health initiatives. And I've read your 3 articles on the Players Tribune, including the most recent one, all very good, Corey. And I know
thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your humility, your transparency. It's very, very inspiring for sure. Whether someone struggles with those things or not. A couple questions. Aside from your experience, why is it so important to you?
Baby just rolled by.
No, that's awesome. Why is it so important to you to be an advocate and to stand up for these type of things?
Well, because when I was sick, and even with myself and even with my parents, their generation was, people didn't talk about it, and people just suffered in silence. And there was, it's really sad to think of the people in the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s that, were really struggling with mental health and ended up probably taking their own lives at some point. And I don't ever want that to happen to anybody. Now, can I stop suicide on my own? Probably not. No, right? I mean, but we need to put a dent in it. And we need to let people know that it's okay to not be okay, that it's okay to have mental health issues, that it's treatable, that it's fixable, that, a family shouldn't have to go through what they go through, and a person shouldn't have to because they're too afraid to get help. Getting help shouldn't be stigmatized. It shouldn't be, pushed under the carpet. If you need help, I don't care what it is, a leg, an arm, a heart, your brain, you should never be stigmatized or pushed, and shoved under a carpet because it's taboo or it's not right. And we need to help people that struggle with mental health so that they can live a better life. And everything comes back to mental health. It really does. Any kind of trauma in your life, we've all had trauma, we've all had issues, and everything comes back to mental health. Even being a professional athlete, a hockey player, how does the stress affect your mental health? It's something that we need to change. So that's why I do what I do.
Amen. Well said, Corey. What's the most rewarding thing? I think you probably touched on it, but what's the most rewarding thing about your work in mental health advocacy? Well,
the most rewarding thing is when someone messages you and say, hey, you know what, your story really resonated and really helped me, and it helped me go get help. Or a wife that's husband is, they're on the brink of divorce because the husband struggles so bad with depression or anxiety, or the female side, vice versa. And they say, you know what, my husband finally saw your article, or my wife saw your article, I wasn't getting help, and said, you know what, I can do it too. And then they go get help. It saves their marriage, right? It's things like that. Those are the things that are the most satisfying to me is when somebody reads or sees something that I did and says, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it too.
Awesome, Corey. Thank you for your wonderful work in that area. And to wind up, I know I promised you 20 minutes, so this will be the last thing. It's appropriately called the 5-hole because I'm speaking to a goalie, not saying that you let anything in through your 5-hole, but it's just 5 very, very quick questions. You don't even have to give your reason why. And just give me the answer. Number 1, are you an extrovert or an introvert?
Oh, I would say I'm split right down the middle.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of times where I feel like just hiding away, and there's a lot of times where I feel like, getting out there and being public.
Awesome. Number 2, you won't offend me either way because I'm half of each, as you know. Japanese food or Chinese food? What's your preference?
Let's see. Oh, goodness. I'd probably go with Japanese food. I'm a big sushi guy.
Awesome.
Love it.
So we'll record our parody song, Me, You, Dusty, and go out for some sushi. Okay, we're going to get a little harder. Number 3, if they're paying for dinner, speaking of sushi, they're paying for dinner, so you don't have to pick up the tab. Who would you most rather go out to dinner with? Travis Green, Jim Benning, or Francesco Aquilini?
Run that by me again.
Yeah, they are paying for, no problem. They're paying for dinner, so it's the company. Would you rather go out for dinner with Travis Green, Jim Benning, or Francesco Aquilini?
Oh, that's a tough question. See, I know Travis because I played against him, and I wouldn't want him to tell me about how many different ways he scored on me, so that's out. Jim Benning would have some great stories, hockey stories from the 70s.
Yeah.
I'd have to say Jim. And Francesco, I mean, I'd love to pick at his business. My goodness, to get to that level. But I'd have to say Jim because I'm a diehard 70s hockey guy. I loved those guys were the best. They're gentlemen. They're good dudes.
Yeah.
And they played hard.
Awesome. Last 2 questions. Use any definition of the word important that you want. Who's going to be more important for the Canucks going forward? Elias Pettersson or Quinn Hughes?
Oh, definitely Quinn Hughes. You cannot win a Stanley Cup without a high-end defenseman. If you look at Detroit Red Wings, Nicholas Lidstrom was every team you have to have a high-end defenseman. You can't win without one. You got Nicholas Lidstrom. You've got Duncan Keith in Chicago. You've got Ray Bourque when he played with Colorado. You've got the list goes on and on. You cannot win without a high-end defenseman. And you look at Pronger and Niedermayer.
Yeah.
You can win with a forward or two, but without a defenseman, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and that's why Canucks fans are so excited that we finally
have one. He's so good. That kid is so good. It's gonna be awesome. And if Joe Levy turns into a player, which I'm excited. I think he will.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be awesome.
I love it. And lastly, in your opinion, Corey, who should be the next Vancouver Canuck player into the Ring of Honor?
Into the Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
My goodness. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, while you're thinking, I've heard guys like Edler, Kessler, Bieksa, Bertuzzi, and Luongo. I've heard those 5. Some people say Luongo should be in the rafters. So those are 5 names I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, off of that team, I mean, there's Kevin Bieksa is a big part of it. But as far as a true impact player, I would probably have to go with Luongo. I mean, this is the guy that got you to Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's a future Hall of Famer. I still think the best goalie of all time in Canucks lore is Kirk McLean.
Yeah.
But, I have a ton of respect for Roberto Luongo because he's a good dude. And you got the Canucks within 1 game of a Stanley Cup. How many other teams can say that?
Awesome. Corey, thank you for your time. I want to thank you for all you do, for who you are and all you do, especially with respect to mental health. And, of course, bringing your flavor and your knowledge to Canucks fans all over the world when you're on the radio. So thank you and keep up the good work. And I look forward to hearing you throughout the rest of this postseason.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited. It's gonna be great. But let's not put too much pressure on them. Let's just have some fun watching some good hockey because in 2 years this team's gonna make a run for a cup.
Awesome. We won't put too much pressure on you either in your calls, but we'll hold you to your word. Thanks again, Corey. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, bud.
All right, Corey.